This is the biggest exposure that Nollywood has gotten since existence.
Nollywood has been said to be the second biggest film industry in the world, right in the middle of Hollywood and Bollywood. The same Nollywood has been shown to be an unsustainable industry filled with starving artists and mediocre productions. It's even more devastating on realizing that the average salary of a Nollywood actor is less than $500. But in spite of all this, Nollywood has always found a way to thrive throughout the ages. In this video, we are going to look into the tragic and unusual rise of Nollywood.
Papa, tell me a story.
About what?
About Nollywood. Well, a long time ago, nearly 100 years, the first ever Nigerian film was shot by the white man. Its name? Palava. It was a black and white film shot in northern Nigeria. Northern like Kano and Katsina. Yes, it was a film about love. Two men fighting for the love and affection of one woman. One of the men being a district officer, that was the Nigerian. The other being a tin inspector, that was the white man. Tin like tin can, no jumbo. Tin like the natural resource. You know Nigeria has so much of those. So who won? Well, the white man, of course. Dad, was the film racist? Yes. It was a facade to promote white supremacy amongst fellow Africans and England themselves.
The director himself, Godfrey Bacchus, presented his Nigerian actors as savage, cannibalistic men who didn't know better.
Even after they spent hours of their lives making a film for him. Oh, that's horrible. Why are you smiling? Well, it's because it gets better.
Fortunately, in 1957, the record was set straight with a new movie named Fincho. It was a colored movie and it had a similar plot as Palava. Two lovers and how their community faced the industrialization brought by the white man.
The director this time around, his name was Sam Ziva, did a very good job in bringing out the beauty and displaying the beauty of the Nigerian culture to the world. And with that little initiative, so began the first wave of Nigerian cinema.
Actors and writers in the early 60s took initiative from Ziba and began displaying their plays and dramas in front of live stages. They figured that if stories are going to be told about them, they might as well be the people telling the stories themselves.
But wait, why didn't they just film it like Palava and Fincho? Well, it's because of poverty. You see, unlike the normal digital videos we see nowadays, film in and of itself, the traditional film, takes a very long process to be developed. It required hundreds of employees to convert individual frames into moving pictures, which made up the film. And let's be honest, Nigeria didn't just have that type of money to hire those employees at that time.
Fortunately, in the 1970s, Nigeria had its oil boom, so a handful of filmmakers could actually afford the expensive process of making film, but the bar for entry was still high and the audience was still small.
And in those days, people who made films, who could bear the expenses of making a film, were regarded as filmmakers, a very high status amongst the arts and crafts society of Nigeria at that time. Unlike today, that being called a filmmaker has been just watered down.
Not every producer or writer could afford it, and not many people could pay to watch films in cinema because tickets were expensive.
The fact that cinemas in Nigeria were just limited to certain places in just Lagos wasn't helping matters at all. You think so? Yes, of course.
Although films like Kongi's Harvest and Dinner with the Devil thrived during that era, nothing would have come close to what a new imported product had to offer.
What imported product? The television. The television. The television. You see, it was a box-like device that used electromagnetic signals to transmit moving pictures from one place to another, what we know today as video.
Every Nigerian home wanted to get one. It became almost a necessary furniture in Nigerian homes, and slowly it began overthrowing the traditional cinema.
And Jumbo, you know NTA, right? NTA, and yeah, news. You're always watching it, and you never allow me to watch cartoons. The point is, it was founded around this same period in 1977.
News broadcasters swept Nigerian homes off their feet with convenient and rich information through the television. Because of this, filmmakers quickly moved their scripts from cinemas to NTA and other broadcasting networks on TV to get a slot into Nigerian homes as well.
You can make a lot of money. We make a lot of money now.
And the era of Nigerian soap operas like The New Masquerade, Kokoro at Dawn, and Tales by the Moonlight began.
Series and serials. As in, I started with Ripples, for instance. You know, and you had Checkmate, you had all those.
Checkmate.
Yes.
This era lasted for over a decade, but soon enough, filmmakers began realizing the disadvantages.
See, the time slots on NTA was very limited at that time.
Meaning not everyone could get a spot no matter how good the script was. This quickly became a huge problem because it meant that diversity of film would be limited because of limited resources.
So, how did they fix it, Papa? VHS, of course.
VHS was an older version of what we know today as DVD. It was a device that allowed pre-recorded video, which is the tape, to be played on television. What was spread about this new technology? Although people only used it to record weddings and burials at that time, consumers were just barely scratching the surface of the device. But in 1992, a filmmaker named Obi Chris Rappo had different plans. He came up with the idea of making a long drama that would be shot and edited in tape, so he called for a filmmakers meeting.
What happened was that all the Igbo actors and actresses appearing on TV were invited. The man wanted to shoot in Igbo
and casted Kenneth Okonkwo as the lead actor.
So when the man saw me and I did 1, 2, 3, 6, he said, wow. When he was writing this script, it was this kind of a guy he had in mind.
After a few months of planning, shooting and post-production, the first ever independent VHS film was made. The name, Living in Bondage. Within a few months of its release, it quickly turned into a hit. Not only was the storyline rich in lessons about life and rooted deep in Nigerian culture, but people could also purchase a VHS copy of it, take it home and watch it. It became a cultural sensation.
Never before in the history of Nollywood, till that point, has an indie film ever garnered so much fame and recognition, even in bondage.
Other filmmakers began replicating the idea. There was a cultural shift from making soap operas on television to making long dramas on VHS, and the path Chris Obi Rappo laid moved Nollywood into a new era. During this period, VHS film production began increasing at rapid rates. The benefits of VHS productions were massive.
VHS was cheaper and more cost effective. Very good, Jumbo. You've been listening.
There was a new VHS audience that was hungry for more films like Living in Bondage that they could take home and watch with their friends and family.
It was just a filmmaker's dream.
Film genres ranging from the cultural to the secular genre began to emerge. New household Nollywood stars began to rise to fame, and then we had the 2000s. You see, the 2000s was the prime age of Nollywood. It gave us so many good movies like Mr. Ibu or Sophia and so on. Films were easily accessible through videotapes or CDs. Nollywood was really looking bright. But as all good things, it came with its own flaws, and the flaws were massive. Sales of films through physical copies created room for a lot of piracy, which totally halved the revenue of so many films.
They are selling you the pirated copy of the film. Like that is just like that's the worst form of piracy that there is.
Actors were being paid lower and lower progressively due to low revenue from film sales. This made so many actors to be on and off. Nevertheless, as technology rose, a solution was provided. African Magic was a film network created in 2003 to help curb the price drop from pirated sales. It worked for a few years, but eventually the ever-rising rate of piracy subdued it. This created a very big problem in the Nigerian filmmaking space.
Filmmakers were not making money, actors were not making money, nobody was happy. The motivation was low to keep this dream of a Nigerian cinema going.
So they came up with the only solution possible.
Make more films.
It made sense, right? Just make more films. Even if you make 10 movies that are estimated to make like 10 million naira and each lose 50% piracy, that is still 5 million naira, right? That was the logic they were using. It was a slippery road, and because of desperation, producers and directors fell into it. Nollywood became a profit-driven business. So many filmmakers began pumping out film faster than I can say subscribe to my channel. It was a wildfire. And of course, soon came the consequences. As quantity of movies increased, quality of films decreased. There wasn't any two ways about it. To make more films, storylines were rushed, actors rushed, shooting times were rushed. To some degree, actors and directors were seen as more proficient if they did large amounts of movies.
We didn't have platforms to give us celebrity status. We had work. It was our body of work.
Everything was just saying, make more movies. And yes, the film crew would benefit from this business mindset, but the audience suffered. Audiences soon began seeing Nollywood movies as lower class as compared to Hollywood.
It was a filmmaker's nightmare. This continued till 2009 when another filmmaker chose to do something different.
Kunle Afololan. Who's that?
Kunle was a filmmaker who went against the business style ideology of Nollywood. He believed Nollywood films should be innovative, creative, and intentional. So he tested his hypothesis resources on a new film he called Figurine. In this movie, he made two experimental choices. First of all, he decided to release the movie on cinema.
It was shot in 2009, and before then, people would shoot primarily for DVD and VHS, you know, straight to DVD. But when Figurine came, we tested the cinemas, the available screens, and the film did well in cinemas. So he opened up distribution opportunities.
Secondly, he spent the vast majority of the resources on the quality of the movie to still see if Nigerian audiences were still interested in quality movies.
And I said, okay, I look at what is missing, and I realized that a lot of attention, you know, was not paid to details. And I said, okay, what if we bring that in?
It was genius and highly refreshing. Audiences who had been numbed out by rushed, predictable movies were once again enthusiastic. It once again showed that Nollywood could break the bubble of mediocratic productions if it wanted to. Soon after this turning point moment Kunle brought, the revitalization of Nollywood began. Filmmakers who were afraid of making creative, innovative, and high-quality films because of fear of losing revenue were emboldened to make them anyways. Nollywood movies began increasing in quality and diversity. From 2010, a new genre named New Nollywood emerged, led by Kunle Afolayan. The genre focused on creative scripts and new ways of approaching filmmaking. With time, as technology grew, streaming services like Netflix, Indani TV, YouTube, and so on began to overthrow physical copies, allowing filmmakers to keep 100% of profits made from movie sales.
Especially if you are trying to fight issues like piracy. So you want to kind of focus on where the money is coming from, where you're going to get the money back, how do you reach a bigger audience, and really the only way you can do that is through cinema.
Yeah, I know. I miss Genevieve too. If you've made it this far into the video, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. But before you go, look, I know that the history of Nollywood started out rough, but I believe that this current generation of filmmakers are going to turn it into something else in the next 10 years. And my personal dream, which I hope I'll be part of, is that very, very soon, Nollywood one day will be better than Hollywood.